Pets Add Life, your guide to the latest in pet trends, products, and the joy of the human-animal bond, with Kristen Levine and Chris Bonifati, powered by the American Pet Products Association and DOGTV.
It's summertime, Chris.
It is summertime. It is summertime for the Pal podcast and these two excellent pals. I'm Chris Bonifati, joined as always by the beautiful Kristen Levine. And we are hosting the Pets Add Life podcast yet again on a wonderful Tuesday. And you're right, it's summer. It's summer, but here's the thing, Kristen. I've been feeling mighty stiff lately, especially on we're recording this on a Tuesday after a long weekend.
Yes.
I'm just feeling mighty stiff. So,
well,
just trying to work out the kinks, you know?
Yeah, well, that's one of the things about summer. You know, it's a little bit more of a relaxed time. We spend more time in the sun. And as I understand from what you said earlier before we started recording, you've spent a little too much time in the sun this weekend. So maybe that's kind of sapping your energy.
Yeah, and I need some revitalization, but luckily for us, we're going to be talking about Doga today, yoga for dogs, which for dogs, with dogs, around dogs, which sounds like exactly the type of thing that I'm going to need to get back in the swing of things. So we're going to be talking to that wonderful guest. I'm not going to tease their name quite yet, but we have two guests, two stories, two products, and then we're going to answer two of your questions today as well. Does that sound like a good show there, Kristen?
That sounds great. I'm ready. I'll try to bring enough energy for both of us.
That sounds like a plan. I can't even imagine what Kristen at 110% is like.
Well, I tell you what, here one of the things I love about summer, and we're going to get to our stories here in just a second, but I love the longer days. Like this morning, I was walking Tulip at 6:15 in the morning because the sun was already coming up. And then at night, we can have dinner and then walk her before bed. So I think this year's June 20th is the longest day of the year. So that's another great thing about summer. We can really take advantage of those extra daylight hours.
Well, as an indoors kid, I disagree. I was waiting for the sun to go down so I could watch my movies without glare.
You're a vampire. I think you're a vampire.
Maybe alleged vampire. But I am appearing on camera, so I must be one of the special kinds. But without further ado, let's get into story time.
Kristen and Chris present Story Time.
All right. Well, my story actually has to do with walking your dog. I read this in Newsweek, and at first, when I saw the headline, it freaked me out because it said, "Woman takes senior sheltered dog for a walk and never brings her back." And I was like, what? So I clicked, obviously, to read. It actually has a very happy ending. So this woman, Kim, she had just lost her rescue dog. It didn't really say what his illness was, but he passed away at the age of 9. And so as part of her healing, she was going to her local shelter to walk other dogs. And when she walked in one day, one of the volunteers said, "Look, I know you just lost your older dog and you're not, looking to adopt another dog yet, but there's this senior dog here named Dolly who's been here for 9 months, and we just really want to get her outside." So Kim takes Dolly for a nice long walk and they fall in love, and she adopted her. And I just love that story. I just thought it was, everybody grieves differently when they lose a pet. Sometimes people need to wait for a longer period of time before they get another pet. And other times, it's better for a particular person to replace that pet right away. But in this case, she really wasn't even planning to adopt yet, but she just fell in love with, Dolly was the dog's name. And, they're living happily ever after together now.
That is the true danger of volunteering around adoptable animals. It is. I say danger. I mean, it's a wonderful story, but yes, we hear it all the time. Somebody spends some time around these lovely animals. You fall in love and then you end up taking them home. One of the first cats that I got when I was growing up, his name was Gizmo, this big Maine Coon. And my mother took me to Office Depot to get graph paper. It was back to school time, and we didn't have graph paper for me to start school. And there's the PetSmart with the ASPCA right next door. And we stopped in to just look, and we came home with a 3-year-old Maine Coon who weighed 22 pounds.
Oh my gosh.
My father My father was not happy at first, but eventually grew to love
You left
Gizmo. So
you left to get school supplies, and you came home with a kitty. I love it.
it happens.
It
These
does.
things happen. My story is fun and lighthearted as well. If you are a resident of New York City, you are well attuned to the city's wildlife, the pigeons, the rats, the occasional bodega cat. But what if I told you that some folks enjoying their Memorial Day, this past Memorial Day, walking around New York City, eating ice cream, drinking malts, maybe the occasional cocktail, were surprised by some peacocks roaming through the city? Well, 5 peacocks fled the Bronx Zoo and made their way to the island of Manhattan, where they enjoyed a wonderful Memorial Day, carousing with the populace of New York City. All of the peacocks were eventually returned safely. One man was bit by a peacock when he attempted to approach it. He was fine and refused medical treatment. He was completely fine. But I cannot imagine the confusion, not of a local, because a local, you see crazy stuff in New York all the time, but a tourist and the questions that might start going through their head about these peacocks. But there's plenty of pictures. I'm sure some of you may have seen it on Instagram of the peacocks take over Manhattan. They're in the trees roosting. They're loud too.
They're not easy to catch.
They kind of honk like geese. They
Yes,
are not
they're very
easy.
noisy.
Imagine trying to catch geese. It's like that. So just a fun little story, a little zoo break over the long weekend. And they were all returned safely. So a nice fun one for everybody.
So, Chris, I'm sure this is on your calendar, but June 21st is International Yoga Day. And,
highlighted in red.
Right. And, we've heard about goat yoga. Have you ever tried goat yoga, by the way?
I've not tried goat yoga, but it is on the bucket list, most certainly.
Okay. Well, goat yoga was kind of the first kind of cool trend that started with yoga. Then Doga became a trend, which is yoga for dogs. And now there's this new trend taking over the nation where you actually do yoga while surrounded by puppies. And I cannot think of a I know. Pinch me. I want to know where I can book this yoga class. But our next guest today, she actually founded the Puppysphere, and she's one of the first one of the first yoga practices to start embracing this trend. And so let's hear how that's going with her right now.
Beyond the Leash, exploring the untold stories of pet passion and professionalism.
Alrighty, welcome to our first guest on the podcast today, Lea. I'm going to let you pronounce your last name because it's such a beautiful name, and I don't want to mess it up. How do you say this?
Thanks for having me. It is Burbidge Izquierdo.
Burbidge Izquierdo. Beautiful, beautiful. Well, Chris and I were, before you came on the show, we were talking about how awesome this new trend is with essentially, I guess, like puppy yoga. And we would love to hear more about the Puppysphere and how people can get involved.
Of course, I'd love to teach you about the Puppysphere. So like you mentioned, it is definitely a new concept. Even within the US, we are first to introduce this new modality to wellness. And so I think everyone's been really involved in moving their body and getting in wellness and really focusing on mental health because of how important it is nowadays in today's society. And we just wanted to combine that mental health aspect of movement with the mental health aspect of puppies. Puppy love just brings in so much endorphin. And I think that being in New York, in such a big city with a lot of movement and high costs, not everyone also gets the option of getting a dog, whether it's for time, financial, or space purposes. And so the Puppysphere really offers that combination of movement and puppies for those who have dogs and for those who don't. And so what we offer are every weekend we run public classes. It's 45 minutes of flow vinyasa yoga. And then there's also a 30-minute post-practice that is more for a social period. with bottomless mimosas included. Of course, it is the weekend. And so during the entirety of the hour and 15-minute event, the puppies are running around, giving kisses, and really doing their little rounds with the customers.
I mean, talk about a mental health triple threat. The yoga, the puppies, the cocktails afterwards. That sounds. I'm sold. I'm sold already. I'm going to get out of here because I'm taking a train down right now to come by. But for a lot of people, me included, I associate yoga more with physical health. So can you talk a little bit about how going through the different poses and relaxing your body can be beneficial to your mental health?
Of course. I think it's just the importance of moving. I know we go on walks and sometimes we just also get caught up with work, and just moving, allowing that oxygen to go into your brain, stretching, making your body feel good. And then I think with the concept of puppies as well, it's kind of embracing your inner child. During our classes, people laugh and people smile, and just moving your body and coming in around the puppies, like I mentioned, embraces your inner child, which we forget to do a lot being in a world that is so busy. We're constantly working. We hardly disconnect. Our phone is at the end of our hand throughout our entire day. And so just that, doing poses and stretching, we used to do it as children all the time, whether it was in gym class or when our parents would put us through classes. And so that is just good. Like I mentioned, like brings oxygen to your brain and makes you feel good. When you walk out and you know that you've moved your body and you've stretched, it just on its own makes you feel good. And also there is a few people in our classes. So I think that it's also a social event. And so people get to connect and speak with others who often have the same interests if they stumble into the same experience. And just meeting like-minded people is also great mental-wise.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Lea, I have to ask you, where do the puppies come from? How is it that you can have puppies at every single event that you host?
Of course. So at the Puppysphere, we really are devoted to the well-being of the puppies and the puppy yoga experience and any puppy social that we throw. Even though we really want our attendees to have that heartwarming experience, our main focus is really ensuring puppy safety and making sure that they come out of this class feeling more confident as well. We do work with reputable breeders around the cities. We are currently in Toronto, Miami, New York, and Chicago next week. And so we do have Emily. She is our breeder account executive, and she manages all the relationships with the breeders depending on the city where we host our events. We have a pretty strict screening process when it comes to choosing which breeder partners we do work with. We make sure that the puppies have the right age, also that they're raised within the proper environment. We audit the environment where the puppies grow up, the facilities, and Emily really takes care of vetting all of that. We also do owner screening, and we also make sure that we work with breeds that are friendly. And through all of that audit, we require any document that is vet documents from the parents, the dog parents, and then also from the puppies.
I would imagine that this is a really great way for the breeders to socialize these puppies as well before they go into their permanent homes.
Yes, exactly. It allows them also to, get used to a car ride. Sometimes breeders live a little further, and so it accustoms them to that car ride, which is awesome. I know that my own dog, the breeder I got her from, would drive them around their facility just to make sure that they were good in the car. Nala now is a road trip expert because she started so early. And then it also allows them to kind of showcase their personalities. Puppies have their own personalities. And so being around people, a little more noise and movement, it allows them sometimes to come out of their shell. And come out more socialized, of course. So yes, it is also good for the puppies.
So how many puppies would be in a particular class?
So it's very dependent of the litters, of course. We cannot combine any litters because the puppies are between the youngest that will take the puppies are 7 weeks. And so at around that age, we cannot combine them with any litters because of the risk of cross-contamination. And so we do always look for about 6 puppies or more. It's really dependent. Like this weekend, we're launching in Chicago. And one of the breeders that we are working with had 2 litters, but since they grow up together and it's the same environment, there's going to be 12 corgis in Chicago for the entire group. But other times it'll be about a ratio of like 6 puppies to 30 people.
Wow, that sounds like so much fun. So tell us what cities that you're in currently.
Yeah, so the Puppysphere is a Toronto-based company. We launched 2 years ago in Toronto. We actually just got a brand new studio on Queen West. It's a built-in double studio. It looks phenomenal. So that is our main city. We entered in New York about a year ago. We currently have 2 locations, one in Union Square and one in Brooklyn. I am currently in our brand new location. So this is going to be beginning of July. We're going to be doing our launch. It's right beside Madison Square. So this is going to be a brand new New York studio. We have another studio in Wynwood, Miami. And then next week, Saturday and Sunday, we're launching in Chicago in West Loop. Our very first Chicago launch. And from that weekend, it's going to be ongoing, just like all these other cities. It's been a busy year.
That's amazing. You need your own classes for all that stress. I mean, that's absolutely amazing. I've got one last question before we let you go. Someone like myself, a true sucker for puppies. Do you find that people tend to get distracted, or are they able to actually focus on the exercises? Is it more of like a relaxed yoga class, more casual, or is it still pretty well structured? Because me and my ADHD brain, I'm all over the place.
No, of course. So we have like all types of people who join the classes, those who really want to follow the practice, and then those who are 100% there for the puppies. We do make sure to mention to the customers that while it is super exciting and the puppies are adorable, just to keep like the volume to a minimum so that those who are here for the practice get to enjoy it as well. We have highly trained instructors, and so they are also good at keeping the flow going through the noise and through the movement. Because some do come and want to participate to the yoga, it is a little bit why we do the yoga first and then the social, because post yoga you do have a 30-minute period where you do get to sit and socialize with the puppies, get Polaroids, get mimosas, and so there's really that separation that allows people to do both. I had a customer come up to me the other day and she was saying, I didn't actually think this would be yoga. So I had booked a yoga class after this. I thought I'd only be here for the puppies and that the yoga would be like an ad. And so she was like, I canceled my yoga class after this. I really got to do my full practice and I got to play with puppies. So yeah, it's really those who don't want to do the practice, play with the puppies. That's totally fine as long as you stay on your mat and respectful of everyone around. But yeah, it is still, we continue with the class and make sure that those who are there for the practice get to enjoy
great. But between that, it sounds like you're open to people of all skill levels, whether you're just starting your journey with yoga or you're an expert who's looking to change things up. You're opening all of these great locations across the country and Canada included. So it sounds like you're becoming more and more accessible. So if you're listening out there, this sounds like something that's good for you. Be sure to check out the Puppysphere. And Lea, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast today. This was absolutely awesome. I know what I'll be doing next weekend. You're going to be seeing my face pretty soon. So be on the look. Just know when you see a hyperactive 30-something in the corner with all the puppies, that was me. And I'm sorry. and I promise not to be disruptive.
Awesome.
Maybe
Thank you
he
so
should have
much,
his
Chris.
mimosa first.
Yeah, calm him down, put him in the corner. Yeah, it's like toddler rules. Give him his bottle, let him go in the corner with the puppy, and he's fine. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Lea.
That was a great interview. I know what I'm doing this weekend. Locations in New York City, Miami, Chicago, and Toronto, according to my little fact sheet here. So luckily I'm close enough to New York City where, listen, I've got my fair share of anxiety and mental stuff going around, same as everybody else in this country. I can't imagine that my problems can't be solved with puppy yoga, with some stretching activities and some puppies. So I'll be there.
I hear you. Well, unless they're coming to the mountains of North Carolina soon, I'll probably be on a plane up there to join you. There
you go. Yeah. Make sure you get the extra space so that you're nice and limber by the time you arrive.
For sure.
Don't want you cramped back there in economy and coach. And speaking of travel, that's a perfect segue. It's almost like you planned that, Kristen. Our next guest is a travel and hospitality expert. His name's Ryan Embree. He's with Travel Media Group. He handles a lot of the online reputation managing for major hotel brands. And he's going to talk to us about some tips and tricks to get the best experience when traveling with your pet this summer. So let's go ahead and listen to that interview now.
Pets add life.
And it is my pleasure to introduce Ryan Embree with Travel Media Group. He is the host of the Sweet Spot podcast. So if you're listening, be sure to check out the Sweet Spot podcast. He is an expert in all things travel. We're going to talk a little bit about some summer recommendations on traveling with your companion animal. Ryan, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. Happy to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, Absolutely. We're delighted to have you.
Yeah, pleasure to have you on. It's such a tough topic to broach. I know, for one, my parents don't travel as much as they'd like to because of the dog, and it comes up as an excuse. But me being a little more plugged in, I'm aware that excuse is becoming less and less susceptible. It's simply becoming easier to travel with your pets. So I guess we could start by talking about some of the trends in the travel industry that may make things a bit easier for pet parents to sort of get on the road, stay in hotels, and take a traditional path to travel.
Yeah, I mean, like anything, you're going to have challenges with bringing your pet friends alongside you. But you're right, Chris. There's a ton of resources out there. Hotels, Airbnbs, they're making it a lot easier now for you to be able to travel with your pets. But just to give some background data, it's a very popular subject. We one of the things we do at Travel Media Group is we look at guest reviews throughout, OTAs, TripAdvisor, Google, and we notate when people are bringing up specific subjects. Just this past spring, pets were brought up 40,000 times on online reviews.
Wow.
So there's two cases of that, right? You've got your pet owners that are interested in things like maybe the amenities that a hotel provides for pets. And then you have people actually on the other side that are a little bit more worried about people bringing their pets. They might have allergies. They might be concerned with the noise. The good news, though, with that is the 40,000 mentions, 20,000 of them were actually mentioned positively. So that is talking about this was a pet-friendly resort. They had all these amenities. I think they provided treats at the front desk. Where if you're a hotel, that's a great tip, right, to have. Sometimes there's like a mascot of a hotel. I still remember staying at a beach resort when I was younger, and they had a parrot right there, right when you walked into this beach resort. And it was all over Instagram. Everyone wanted to take a picture with it. It was great marketing for the hotel, and it was fun for the guests as well.
That's awesome. Instead of a bodega cat, a hotel parrot.
Yeah, right.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, Ryan,
sometimes.
Sorry. No, I was just going to say my mother and her husband just drove from Colorado to our house in North Carolina with their little dog. And it took them like 3 days. Wow. They took their time getting here. And so they stayed every night in a pet-friendly hotel. And they had a really good experience, except for the time they tried to take the dog into the cafeteria or the area where there was food involved. But what kind of advice would you offer to pet parents, like mine, who are not going to leave the dog behind on their road trip, in terms of looking for the best options for a place to stay?
Absolutely. It's a great question, and we want to make sure our pets are as comfortable as possible. We want them to enjoy their stay too, right? When they're traveling, we don't want to get them stressed out, even though they're in a new environment. One of the things that I would suggest is if you're a pet owner, some of the simple things about taking a look at the property itself. If this is a massive resort, sometimes these hotels can have, 20, 30 floors and and be very, very long. So if you have to take your pet out frequently, one of the best tips I would say is to either ask for a room near the elevator, or even if you're comfortable with it being on the first floor so you have easy access in and out to take your pet. It's something that we overlook because, when we're at our house, sometimes it's just opening the door. You got a little cat door or something like that they can go out into. But if you want them to be able to get outside, do their business, that's a great little tip to do. Also just kind of figuring out the surrounding areas. And this is a tip both for the pet parents as well as anyone working in the hotel industry, just knowing where, basic necessities might be. Obviously, you've got your fun leisure activities, like maybe a dog park if you want to bring them and, for them to have a little bit of fun, but also any sort of, if there were, hopefully there's not, but if there's any sort of medical emergency or anything like that, you want to make sure that or an animal hospital might be in location to where you're staying, just in case. All really good just habits just to know and use when you're traveling.
Yeah, that's a great tip. I know I have stayed at some pet-friendly hotels where they have actually provided that information, but not all of them do. So I'm glad you pointed that out. Yeah. That is part of your research. Should be finding those, yes. Local vets or parks or fun places to go.
Yes. And I will say, one of the great things about traveling too with your pet, as we know, a lot of adorable dogs on Instagram, pets on Instagram. If you're ever, trying to grow your audience and reach, that's one of the other realms we work with is social media for hotels. Reach out to that property that you're staying with. We do thousands of hotel social media posts, and the number one most engaged piece of social content is always a puppy or a cat at a hotel, right? You're always looking to like, share, and the hotel wants to see that too on their feed so that they can share information like their pet policy, if there are any fees associated with you bringing or maybe weight limit restrictions. This is all necessary information that the guest wants to see, but also that the hotel wants to provide for you.
Mm-hmm. And Ryan, what would you say are the amenities that that a pet parent should expect or not expect when they're traveling with their pet on the road?
Well, I've seen some really, I've seen some really cool ones, but I wouldn't necessarily say that everyone is going to include. I used to work in apartment buildings, and one of the really cool amenities was having like a place where you could take your dog to bathe them, right? Or kind of like a pet shower and bathe them right there on property. Wouldn't necessarily say that would be an amenity, but maybe an area that the pets are allowed to go out, kind of almost a pseudo dog park. And if there's not one built at the property, they might give you some examples of where to go and where you can let the dog off leash a little bit.
I'm just curious. I was thinking, are there differences between the amenities that are offered from a hotel, say on the road, as opposed to, say, once you get to your destination and you choose a vacation rental property? Do the pet amenities differ that way?
They do, and I think that's a big benefit. I mean, if anyone's been seeing kind of the Airbnb commercials, they show that as something that's as a big benefit is when you're traveling with a pet, being able to give them space. the fees differ between both of them. And, but I do think hotels overall are noticing the trend of more and more people are starting to bring their pets with them. It's not something that's kind of disappearing. In fact, I see a lot of the hotel industry leaning into this, and it's being mentioned. It's being seen on social media. It's being seen in the policies, the flexible policies now from hotels that have evolved over the years. So obviously Airbnb and these vacation rental properties still have the benefit of maybe having a yard or something like that. But I do see the gap kind of lessening as people kind of get to this new normal of, not only are you going to be hosting me and my family, but you're also going to be hosting some of my pets as well.
I think that's absolutely awesome. And to sort of wrap this up, there's some people, they got to travel because they have to be in a certain place at a certain time. But for those of us who may have a more open calendar and we can consider many different places, are there any particular destinations that you've noticed that are particularly animal friendly? Do they tend to be cities or more country locations? Any tips for a dog lover on where to bring their pooch for their next vacation?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the beauty of travel is you can really find something for everyone. And I know it's not a great answer to your question, but, even some of these more metropolitan areas that you're like, I don't know if this is a great place to bring my pet. I guarantee you, if you look in that market, do your research, read the reviews online, check out social media, there's going to be that place there that might have, now you're seeing like breweries that invite dogs, to be right there across the street from you. So there are those destinations that you can find, whether it's there or if you just want some open space to give them a little bit more room to explore. Summer is obviously, as we know, the kids are out of school. It's a great time to travel and a great time to explore, not just with your family, but your entire family.
Absolutely. And final word here to and I know all of our listeners are not part of this group, but it's really important to be a good guest as well. Clean up after your pet, follow the rules of that particular, establishment. Just don't ruin it for anybody.
It's so great. And you can also leave the TV on with, maybe one of your favorite TV shows, to make them feel a little less stressed. So you're absolutely right there, Kristen. Yep. But
and leave a great review. If you have a good experience, leave a great review for that property.
Review, yep.
Yes, that's for the next dog parent or pet parent that is traveling.
Absolutely.
Excellent.
Well, Ryan, thank you so much for joining us. We're out of time for today, but these tips are absolutely great. I'm sure there's some pet parents at home who are already planning their next vacation with some of your advice. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much.
I love that tip Ryan gave about getting a room that's close to the elevator, because I would never think to ask for that. But it seems like I always end up at the far end of the room.
I'm so non-confrontational. I would never even request a room. But yes, I feel as though he has given me the confidence to seek out some better accommodations when traveling with a dog. That there's some really great stuff in there. So really happy to have him on.
The product of the week.
All right, Chris, it's your favorite segment, product of the week.
It is.
Do you want to go first?
Product of the week. Sure. Why not? I am continuing with my fun summer recommendations. And as I was enjoying some water this weekend and saw some people playing with their dogs, bringing their dogs to the beach, I thought, what's some of the stuff that goes into that? And I saw somebody have this product. And it's a toy. It's called Katie's Bumpers, and it's really great. These are play toys that are meant to float on water, and they're water resistant. They make them out of both like the plastic, but not everybody likes that chewy rubber plastic. So really what caught my eye was the fabric ones. They're made from the same material that they make fire hoses out of.
Oh, cool.
And
so very durable.
That material is like mold and mildew resistant, which if you could imagine, like lake water plus dog saliva and a wet toy. I mean, you think like, how many uses am I actually going to get out of this thing? So they make all sorts of stuff in all sorts of shapes. You could shop by size. You could shop by material. You could shop by collection. It's katiesbumpers.com. And they've got all sorts of stuff. Floats right on the water, designed specifically with that in mind. So if you're taking the dog to the lake, you're going to do some dock diving. Maybe you're training your dog to be a dock diver. This is a great place to start. So be sure to check them out before your next lake day.
I love it. I'm going to check that out for little Miss Tulip. We're going to be going to the lake a lot this
They have
summer.
some tiny ones too for Tulip.
Oh, good. She needs one. She has a little bitty mouth. Yes. Okay. So in keeping with my theme, so you have a summer theme. I have a theme for the month of June because it is National Pet Anxiety Awareness Month. And we do it in June because it leads up to the 4th of July holiday, which causes a lot of anxiety for dogs and cats that are afraid of the loud noises. So this week, I wanted to talk about some calming chews that you can get for your dog or your cat. There are so many on the market. It can be really confusing, I think, to pet parents. So I thought I'd share the ones that Tulip and I use because, first of all, she loves the taste. And second of all, I actually do see a result when she has these chews. These are from Zesty Paws. They're called Calming Bites. And we've been using them lately because my mom and my stepdad are visiting with their little dog Ben, and Tulip, she's used to being the only dog in the house, so she gets a little spun up sometimes. So I started giving these to her the day before they arrived, and she's been really on her best behavior. And I'm chalking it up to these calming bites. But one of the things we love here about them is they are made in the USA. They're 100% satisfaction guaranteed. So if you were to try them and they didn't work for your pet, you can get your money back. And I think that's really important because when it comes to calming products, the same product is not going to work with every pet. You really kind of have to experiment and try different solutions. And oftentimes you have to layer those calming solutions to get the best result. So I love that they have the satisfaction guarantee, and the ingredients are things that you've actually heard of and they're natural. So things like L-theanine, sensoril, ashwagandha, and tryptophan, all those kind of good things that we hear make for great natural calming effect. So yeah, you can pick those up pretty much anywhere you buy your pet supplies. But check out Zesty Paws. They make them both for dogs and for cats and for puppies too.
That's great. That's awesome.
No calming chews for you, Chris.
No, I get my own special calming chews that come from a special store.
Okay, I was going to say, but between spending time in the sun and having your special calming chews, you're going to be asleep.
Yeah, there's a reason why I had 3 cups of coffee this morning. I had to get back into the swing of things. But we're going to move on now to questions from our wonderful audience. Q&As. Let's start right at the top here. Mm-hmm. Kristen, I have a question from Lisa from Boston. Lisa's question is, my indoor cat has recently started scratching the furniture despite having a scratching post. What can I do to redirect this behavior and protect my furniture? It's a great question.
Yes.
There's a few reasons that cats scratch. The first is pure instinct, which you're never going to beat. The second is the way their nails grow. They don't grow like ours where they grow out. They sort of grow a shell, and then the next nail sort of grows underneath it. And the clawing is to actually pull the old nail off of the finger so to expose the new nail. And the third is marking. So you have a chance with 2 and 3. If your cat's instinct is see something, scratch it, I'm sorry, your cat's going to win that battle. If they're scratching because of their nails, it might be worth just looking weekly to see if there's any loose nails and then helping them sort of maneuver. If your cat is cooperative in letting you touch their paws. Some are not. And you don't really need a clipper. You could just wiggle around and see. It's almost like when a kid has a loose tooth, and it will eventually fall out naturally, but sometimes it's easier to just yoink with minimal pain or disturbance. And the third is marking. For marking, that means they are specifically seeking out your furniture, saying, oh, this is where my person sits and it doesn't smell like me enough, so I need to make sure it does. For that, I would recommend putting like a post may not be good. They make some drapes that you could put over furniture or pads or other things. If your cat is thinking, I need to mark this furniture as mine, you're going to need to actually protect that specific piece with a different type of product. But good on you for making sure your cat does have a scratching post available, because that's something that a lot of cat owners skip, which is not great.
If I could just add to that, because I actually had a cat that was doing this many years ago, and I had done some research. And I also learned that if you're trying to redirect your cat for most of not all of those reasons, but if you're redirecting their behavior, you can make sure you're choosing a material that they like to scratch. So if they're scratching the sofa, make sure that your scratching post is made of a similar type of fabric. And also, I learned from a vet that some cats prefer to scratch on a horizontal surface and some on a vertical surface. So that's another way you can entice them. If you know what they like to scratch on, they're going to be more inclined to scratch on something that is, oriented at that either horizontal or vertical angle as well. So
absolutely.
Hope that helps.
Yeah, I have one more quick tip, because cat dad over here. A lot of the scratching posts are rope, right? You see those rope-based ones. And if it gets worn, the frayed rope could actually be a bit frustrating for the cat and their sensitive little paws. So if you've noticed that your scratching post, if it's a rope-based one, is taking a lot of wear and tear, might just be time to replace it.
Good tip.
That's a great question, Lisa. Hopefully we could help. Whose question do you want to read, Kristen?
Let's see. I'm going to go with Alex from Dallas. Alex says, I've been considering adopting a rescue dog. Yay! But I'm worried about potential behavior issues. What are some key things to consider and prepare for when bringing a rescue dog into my home? I'm so glad that you submitted this question, Alex, because I think this is what a lot of people are concerned about when adopting a rescue dog or cat for that matter. Because oftentimes you don't have a lot of background, or the shelter or the rescue doesn't have a lot of background information on that pet. However, volunteers are a really great resource to get information about that animal, especially if that dog has spent any time in the shelter. Usually volunteers can really get to know these dogs, and they might be able to kind of give you some background information about whether or not they get along with other dogs or what their energy level is and that sort of thing. You have anything to add to that, Chris?
Absolutely. I think it's great that by asking this question, you're already in the echelon of responsible potential adopters of animals. But if your concern is behavioral issues, I would say don't fret, because they say you can't teach an old dog new tricks, but that's kind of a lie. Proper discipline and training can be applied to a dog regardless of their previous behavioral issues. I mean, Cesar Millan made an entire show about being able to do that. And while those were some extreme cases, I would assume that the dog that you eventually pick wouldn't be displaying any of these obvious signs of aggression or abuse or some other things that would take a true expert in order to correct. But things like not being housebroken, nipping, barking a lot, being anxious about certain sounds. These are all things that proper discipline and attention can address. And by being the type of person who is concerned about them before even getting the animal, that already displays you have the characteristics to be a responsible dog owner. So I would say just find the dog that resonates with you, that you feel like matches your personality. Every dog is going to have behavioral issues, and good discipline and structure can address all of that.
Yeah, and just a little bit more to add to that. I think you mentioned structure, Chris. Bringing a new dog into your home, that's just an opportunity to set yourself and your dog up for success. And that could be if you're introducing a dog into a home that already has pets, you'll definitely not want to force them together right away. Like keep the new dog in a quiet, maybe a certain part of the home. consider using some pheromone products, some calming products that I've been talking about for the past couple of weeks, maybe some soothing music, and introducing them slowly. But the other important thing is to maintain a routine. Same feeding time is the same time every day. Walking time is the same time every day. Playtime, that certainly in the beginning, at least, to help that dog who knows what they've been through, prior to being at the shelter or in a rescue. So you have to help them understand what the new routine looks like so that they are more comfortable. They kind of start to learn what to expect. And to Chris's point about the training, find a good trainer that is highly recommended by either friends and family or has great reviews to kind of help you with that transition time. That's a really important time to set up good habits for your new dog.
Absolutely. And thank you for these questions. If you are listening and have a question for myself and Kristen, your pals who are definitely not veterinarians, mind you, but are
right.
animal experts in our own right and love to talk about it. If you have a question, head on over to our website. That's petsaddlife.org/podcast. Scroll on down to the bottom of the page past our beautiful faces, and you will see a place where you can either submit your question via text, or if you're feeling brave enough, you can leave us a voice memo and you may hear your question played on the show.
Well, that's a wrap for another summertime episode of the Pets Add Life podcast. What's a vampire like you going to do the rest of the summertime?
Wear sunscreen. A lot of
Good
it.
tip.
A substantial amount of sunscreen. And for those of you out there who think that, I could just go outside and not wear sunscreen, you're wrong. You're wrong. Wear your sunscreen. That's my advice to everybody, not just pet owners. This isn't animal advice. Wear your sunscreen. The sun's a monster, and in a billion years, it's going to destroy our planet. So just think about that next time you're outside having a laugh. Wear your sunscreen. Take regular breaks from the sun. Otherwise, you're going to end up lethargic and sunburnt like me. But hey, if you enjoyed this show, it'd be awesome for you to follow the show on your favorite podcasting app, to like, subscribe, review, share it with your friends, do all that amazing stuff. We're going to be back here next Tuesday with another episode of the PAL Podcast, and we're going to keep on doing it regardless as to whether or not you like and subscribe. So you might as well. In fact, I want you all, if you're listening, to leave us a 5-star review and also leave a wonderful compliment for myself and Kristen, because I think we deserve it. And I'm just going to say, I think we deserve it. I'm just going to say it.
It can't hurt
and
to
I think
ask,
you
right,
have
Chris?
the power to make our day. It can't hurt to ask, right? Asking you shall receive, and if you don't ask, you never shall receive. So there we go. We'll see you in a week. Enjoy your summer weeks. Enjoy the outdoors. Don't take it from me. I know I'm a vampire, but seriously, enjoy the outdoors. Enjoy the wonderful weather we're having, and we'll see you back here on Tuesday.
Bye-bye.